man walks out of the desert and collapses. He's been missing for 4 years, and his family thought that he was dead. Where has he been all this time? Why did he leave them behind? He'll answer these questions as he faces the tragedy that he has sown in his past and a future that never came. A future he planned in Paris, Texas. Hey, welcome to Movie Friends. My name is Seth.
I am Michelle.
Hey, all right. Yeah, that's Michelle. And today we're talking about Paris, Texas from 1984. Directed by Wim Wender, written by Sam Shepard and L.M. Kit Carson. Cinematography by Robbie Mueller. Composed by Ry Cooder. Edited by Peter Shigoda. Costume design by Birgitta Bürki. Starring Harry Dean Stanton, Nastasia Kinski, Hunter Carson, Dean Stockwell, and Aurora Clement. Michelle, how are you?
Hi, Seth. How's it going?
It's going great. We're talking about Paris, Texas.
Finally, I'm so happy for you. Truly.
Do you feel like you're sitting there on a phone talking to me through a screen?
No.
And that if we moved at just the right moment, our faces would line up?
Well, now I do. Let me get in frame here. Let me get my lamp to come on in.
Oh, I have one right here.
No, now it looks like it's dirty again.
I know, scary.
Yeah.
Hey, shout out to Nasha. Signed up for Patreon this week.
Thank you so much. That's so cool.
Thank you very much. As mentioned before, when we get these alerts that someone signed up, it's like, oh, I can keep going.
Right.
You know? And we threatened last week. We said if someone didn't sign up, this is going to be the end of the show.
Oh my God, they're scared.
So if you're all listening for Paris, Texas, you have Nasha to thank, basically.
Wow. Nasha's the leader now.
And hey, if you want to be like Nasha and gain access to all of our additional episodes and the ability to vote on upcoming movies, sign up. Patreon.com/moviefriendspodcast. Come on, you've been listening to this show for like 2 years. We're part of your Monday. You know, you wake up, you pour the coffee.
Yeah.
You, put the slippers on.
Eat a banana.
Yeah.
Sit and stroke your cat.
And you press play, and we make your week better.
Mm-hmm.
Enough games, all right? Hey, we also got an email. Subject line is heavyweights.
Mm-hmm.
Email says, this convo is making me want to watch it again. Well, thank you.
Good.
The IMDb summary is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Quick little detour. I'm currently wearing a shirt that Michelle bought me with the IMDb summary because I said in the episode that I wanted one. And it's so funny. This is like one of the best gifts I think I've ever received in my life.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Yeah, it's great. The email continues, I need Farley in this movie. And I thought he meant Matt Farley.
Me too.
We just talked about Magic Spot. And then I realized that Chris Farley passed on the movie.
Right.
But then I thought, a Matt Farley heavyweights movie, I would dig it.
He should just insert himself into scenes of heavyweights.
There you go. Where he's playing the Ben Stiller role?
No, I think it's just like Matt Farley in the background. Doing Matt Farley things.
That would be cool too.
Wouldn't that be cool?
The email continues, combos and gum is so disgusting. And Maria's kickball story made me laugh so hard.
Mm-hmm.
P.S. I didn't know that bug juice even existed. Literally the first time I've ever heard of it. P.S.S. Dog in it usually refers to someone not hustling. And I didn't know that. So he's saying like he's working out like super hard, but to him, he's just dogging it.
Oh.
So that makes a little bit more sense. And then
okay.
P.S.S.S. I listen on Podcast Addict. So thanks for telling us where you listen.
Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Good to know.
And that email's from Ben.
Hey, thanks, Ben.
If you want to be like Ben, send us an email, moviefriendspodcast@gmail.com. Let us know what you're thinking about Paris, Texas, or heavyweights, or Magic Spot, anything. All right, so we were supposed to have a guest today, but I've been unable to reach them. So we're just going to launch into our discussion But before we do, we're going to write down each other's ratings. We're going to try to predict them.
Okay.
All right. I'm going much more conservative. My hot streak is over.
Yeah.
But I'm feeling okay about this one.
Okay. I feel good about mine. I'm locked in.
I am also locked in, and I think this might be the easiest guess of all time. But anyway, like we mentioned, Paris, Texas was on our slate to do sometime last year.
Yeah, I feel like it was for January.
I'm not sure. Actually, maybe it was.
Would you have picked this for Romance Month? I don't think so.
No. It probably would have been like big movie month, and then I pivoted to like The Matrix or something.
Yeah. Okay.
Obviously, I love this movie, and you went into it kind of knowing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I guess if you could like paint a picture for me.
Okay, so you want me to paint a picture for you of what it was like going into it?
Yeah, is it a Monday?
Oh, sure.
Is it
Let me paint the
cold?
picture.
Do
Yes,
you have
yes,
a
yes, yes.
mug?
Oh, yes. Okay. So it's Sunday after you and I FaceTimed. And
Oh yeah. Oh,
yes,
super secret
working
project.
on some things.
Oh yeah.
And I meal prepped, so I made my soup for the week, which I've been doing. Actually, I should drop those recipes to Jean Marie and Josie in our awesome movie friends group chat that we have to Discord talking about soup.
Oh yeah. Okay, so you make one soup for the week?
I've been trying different recipes, so you're really getting the long version here. So after I did that, then I like got myself comfortable in my bed because basement reno, it's very loud. And I put my AirPods in and I got comfy and I got some churro chips and I started watching.
Sure, yeah. Just in a big old bed.
With 2 cats and getting ready to watch Paris, Texas.
Before we talk about any of the characters, I just want to talk about how the film looks. Oh, who is that?
Hello?
Oh my gosh, it's Felicia.
What's wrong with her?
Oh my gosh. She's walking over towards that giant ice machine. Felicia, are you okay? She's not talking. Oh my gosh!
No!
She just passed out on the floor. Felicia, wake up!
Not too hard, Seth!
Wake up! Wake up!
Wake up!
Michelle, do you know mouth-to-mouth resuscitation?
I took a class, but I don't remember.
Felicia, are you okay?
I've been wandering the desert since our episode on the mask.
Are you sure you can record?
No pressure.
No, it's okay. I think I'm ready to talk about Paris, Texas now.
Okay, all right. Well, hey, Felicia, thank you for joining us and coming back.
Jeez, thank you for having me. This is a special one. Even more special than the mask, oddly enough.
Yeah. Pretty amazing how you've come on to talk about the 2 great American films.
I like to think so.
So before we start talking about the movie, I'm just curious. We know that Michelle watched this for the first time, but I'm curious about your first time watching Paris, Texas, and kind of your history with it.
Yeah, that's actually a good and kind of a special story to me, oddly enough. It was in my early days of kind of discovering Criterion, and I used to borrow a lot of DVDs, Blu-rays from my local library, and anything that just had the C on it, I would just pick it up like blindly. And one day they had Paris, Texas up there. Had never heard of it. Picked it up. I saw Harry Dean Stanton was in it. I was like, okay, it's probably good, but didn't read the synopsis. Put it on, and I had never seen anything like it. Still haven't seen anything like it. It just changed the way I viewed films and the way they look and acting and what can be done with so little. And it just became my movie. So very special to me.
So how many times do you think you've seen it over the years? And follow-up question to that is, what was it like revisiting it now all these years later?
I feel like I watch it at least once a year. And I think like I messaged you earlier today just being like I wasn't expecting it to overwhelm me as much as it did on this rewatch because I've seen it a million times. But I think And I also rewatched it last year, so it's not even been that long since I last saw it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think over the years, just so much changes in everyone's life.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, this time I was overcome with emotion and different emotions that I've felt in previous times. And I'm sure we'll get into it. There's a few scenes that really hit me and like full blown tears. So this
Mm-hmm.
time it was a good rewatch, but it was cathartic, I would say.
Sure. Sure. So, Michelle, this was your first time watching it. You knew nothing about it. And we talked a little bit about, your setting for watching it. What was your experience like?
Yes. I feel like I should take a seat back and just watch you two talk about this movie.
No, 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 no.
No, 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 no. Um, this movie's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful to look at. Um, it's a how can I put this? It I I think if it wasn't for how good it looked, I do not like this story.
Ooh,
If
interesting.
this
Okay.
story was told and shown in a different way, I think this wouldn't be good.
Interesting.
I don't I don't
Yeah.
like the story.
What part of the story, what about the
Like I could
story
feel the
or,
pain that Travis was going through, but he was very annoying. And then also like I'm not a parent, but the ending really kind of made me mad.
mm-hmm.
And what about the aunt and the uncle?
Sure,
And
sure.
again, and that was one of my big questions for you guys is I'm not a parent. I'm an aunt for 18 months, right? So, but you guys are parents. And so I'd love to know your perspective on watching this movie before you had kids and then watching this movie after you guys had kids, if that's applicable.
Definitely. Yeah. For
Mhm.
me, it's not. Um, I watched this movie for the first time. This was the movie that kind of made me pivot as a person who watches movies and who has watched movies like my whole life. I vaguely knew, like Felicia was talking about renting anything that's labeled Criterion, right? I vaguely knew what that was. I didn't have like Letterboxd, or I wasn't following like movie critic people or anything like that. I just would watch movies, and I was at a point in my life where I was spending so much time like just scrolling through streaming apps, and an hour would go by and I would have choice paralysis, and it was like I didn't end up watching anything, and now I'm super exhausted and I'm just going to go to bed. And it was before the pandemic, and I was just like I want to become more like focused in what I watch. And HBO at the time had like a Turner Classic Movie section. And so I decided to just kind of start working my way through that. And there were movies like that I'd never heard of. And Paris, Texas, I remembered that name, and I knew who Dean Stockwell was from Quantum Leap, the TV show, which was like a lot of fun. And I knew Harry Dean Stanton from various things, Repo Man, I had watched when I was younger. So I put it on, and I was just like absolutely paralyzed by the movie. And the combination of like the camera, the acting, the sound, it's just like this very, very specific vibration that like puts me into a trance kind of a thing. And I was so blown away and like just devastated by the movie. And like Felicia said, it's the type of thing where like I didn't know that you could do that. And so watching Paris, Texas, I was like, that's it. That's the next era of my life is like movies. And I it's like I'm not watching TV anymore. I'm not playing video games. I need to find more of these movies. And also like Felicia said, there's not a whole lot like this, but there are a lot of great things. And I understand what you're saying, and it's what a lot of people say about the movie is like thinking about the logistics of the story But for me, like, I don't care about any of those things because this isn't real, you know? If we think about Hunter and Jane at the end, if that makes you feel bad, just pretend that Hunter says to Jane, "Okay, let's move to LA with my parents and you can work for my dad's um, billboard company." And that's how it ends. You can say that. But to me, like, these characters, they melt into existence when they come into the frame, and then once they leave, they don't exist anymore. Like when Travis leaves at the end of the movie, he's gone. That's the end of the story.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. And the first time I did see it, I wasn't a parent, and I felt the way you feel, Michelle. And I have a friend, a good friend, who also she knew it was one of my favorites, and she was like, "Am I supposed to root for Travis in the end?" I'm like,
Hmm.
"I don't. I don't root for him as much as I love Harry
Right.
Dean." And the thing with Harry Dean is that he's so, or at least for me, he's so likable that you kind of want to root for Travis. But I think it's so important that he tells that story towards the end to see who he really is, so that you know you're not supposed to root for him. He's
Hmm.
trying to do
Hmm.
his one last good gesture. But I still, to this day, I've seen this movie a million times, and I still, if I think about it, I'm like, he needs to go back to his parents, who are
Hmm.
his aunt and uncle. Those are his parents. Jane, sorry, hopefully will be in his life. But then I'm like, I sometimes just think of it as like, this is all Travis's, you know, dream in the desert. None of this really
Hmm.
happened.
Hmm. Right.
Um, I
Mm.
try not to, because I think it's so like a dream-like movie, that I think that the logistics don't matter, but it's hard not to think about them, right? You're hard to think about the fact that he's this type of man. She doesn't seem like she's probably set up to take care of a child. And what happens to his actual parents? They might not be his
Hmm.
birth parents, but those are his parents. It's hard. And I think it's important to have a film that asks those questions and makes you think those things each time you watch it. But I try and just go with the vibe with this movie, to
Hmm.
be honest. So yeah, that's why it's so rewatchable, I think, for me at least.
I don't often go to movies for morals, or like learning. I think that movies can do that, but in this movie, I don't think that they're going for morals and teaching you good and bad and this is a good story with a happy ending. It's just what I feel when I watch this movie is just like raw human honesty, good and bad. You've got Hunter and Travis on opposite sides of the roads, walking, playing together, and it's very nice and cute and lighthearted. And then you have Travis talking about tying Jane to the stove with his belt. And this goes into what we talk about with what the what is on the screen can make us feel like, oh, this is the main character, or this person is, we're being sympathetic with them because look at how they're lit and look at how they're staged, and this person's like on the poster. But I don't know, like, this movie just breaks my heart and makes me feel sick and makes me feel terrible, and it's like pain. Like, this movie is pain in a pill to me. You can
Yeah.
experience like devastation for an hour and 20 minutes and then it's over, and it's not real. But it makes you feel like deep, deep, deep human terrible feelings, and that to me, that's a miracle. Like, that's kind of a miracle.
I think I did not like the way you two are describing how you came to this movie is great. And like me going into this, it's just not, I wasn't searching for it. So I didn't
Mm.
receive it as I should have, like you guys are. Like, it's over 2 hours long. And to me, this felt so slow and it
Hmm. Oh yeah.
dragged. That being said, it's so beautiful to watch. And so, like, I'm conflicted in this is beautiful. I feel like I'm watching a painting. It's s- really like, I haven't seen anything else like it. And then I'm like, please just end.
Yes.
Also, like, the world is heavy right now, and I'm not searching for heavy things. And so that
Sure.
also is the balance of it of, "This is beautiful, I'll recommend it, but I don't wanna watch it."
Sure, sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
That's very fair.
yeah.
Yeah. And I think that it is slow. I think the movie is slow. Like, even loving it, as much as I do, I would never be like, "Oh, this is a thrilling," or like it, or even necessarily like an intriguing. Um, all of the parts of the movie are leading you to the second conversation with Jane and Travis, and that's kind of it. Like Dean Stockwell and Aurora Clement, they just leave the movie, and we never hear from them. They just kind of disappear. And like Felicia was saying, I think there's different ways of thinking about this. Is it a dream? Is it not? But it is dream-like. And while we do get a nice moment of Hunter and Jane, she picks him up and twirls him around, which is like just such a nice moment after 2 hours of feeling horrible. It's all leading to that big moment. And like when Travis comes out of the desert, I think, to me, like I take it as a mystery. Where is this guy coming from? Why is he dressed like this? Why does he look like this? And then the doctor, who's like the worst doctor of all time, I think. or maybe just the only honest doctor in America, because all he's concerned with is like getting paid. But no, I'm just kidding. We love doctors, right? Anyway, it's a mystery. And throughout the whole movie, you think each step of the way that you're getting more and more of the reveal of like what actually happened, until the final moment when you learn that, yeah, he tied her up and she probably set fire to the trailer, took the kid and left him to burn to death. Like you could never imagine that from the get-go. And so does the reveal make up for the mystery? Like, is it a good enough payoff? And I think that it's not. You have to sit with them and you have to experience this slowly, so that when you get the information, it hits you uh, like yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think, and I get that. As for someone who also doesn't like long movies, it's odd that this one is one of my favorites, and it being like 2.5 hours long.
Right.
Um, I think if it was shorter, it would feel sensationalized towards the end that he did
Yeah,
all
yeah.
that stuff, and you'd be like, "Oh, really? Like you're pulling this?"
Right,
Um,
right.
Whereas you sitting through all this and the frustration, I love the scene where Dean Stockwell's character gets really annoyed with Travis, and he's like, "I'm done with this. Like, you need to
Hmm.
start talking. You need to tell me what happened. And like, I'm your brother, and you don't need to be doing this to me. Like, you owe us an explanation, not only because we're taking care of your child, who's now our child, but also you're my brother, and I just want to know what happened." Um, I think that explanation towards the end, it also explains, but also doesn't justify why they both abandoned their child, because they both did
No, yeah.
in a way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, so it's hard, and I like what you said, Seth. It's like so honest that I feel like a lot of people know someone that this might have happened to, or we've heard stories like this
Oh,
where, you know,
absolutely.
the child's better off where they are, where they ended up. Um, but it's always hard to hear that parents would just abandon their child just because,
Yeah.
but it happens, unfortunately.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. There's a scene in the movie where Travis is walking across the bridge and we hear like a raving dude and he's just yelling off into nothing. And like Felicia, you just said, we all know, either in our personal lives or on the periphery of our communities and families, like stories like this. And you're always like, oh, this is so crazy. Who could do this? How could this happen? And you always try to justify it, or you try to make sense of it, because it doesn't make sense. Like, especially as a parent, Like, I'm a parent, and just running off into the woods doesn't make any sense to me, you know? And when you see a person who is clearly mentally unwell and needs help, and they're just like raving on the street, I think that's even like more distant from our ability to reason and like justify what they're doing. But Travis is able to see that guy and kind of be like, there's a little bit of like commiserating between the two of them in that moment. And Travis obviously has gone so far, but like, can we as people not justify Travis or not like him or any of those things, but can we like stand there and see, okay, I see it. Like, I see you, I see myself. And I think that if we are honest with ourselves, like when they talk later and he gives that huge monologue, which is, it's shot incredibly well. Harry Dean Stanton is giving maybe the best monologue ever recorded in film history. They do it in one take. Everything about it is like perfection, right? You're waiting for something to happen. He's going to say, and then you cheated on me, and would say, oh, that was the catalyst, right? But Sam Shepard writes this, and it's adapted by L.M. Kit Carson. Sam Shepard had to leave the production before this was finished. And so Wim Wenders like called him, and he narrated the final scene to him, and he had to write it down. Felicia, can you
Yeah.
confirm?
No, that's facts. Guerrilla
It's
filmmaking there.
crazy. He left, and so they were like, we need to know what they say to each other. And what you learn is the catalyst wasn't one big shocking event. It's just the normal cycles that people go through as relationships go from this honeymoon phase to like, okay, well, now we need to work. And then clearly she was dealing with some type of postpartum depression. Nowadays we would look at Travis and be like, clearly there are some social issues happening here, but they didn't know what those things were. And so they're just dealing with all these like weird microaggressions and then suspicions. And I've been married for 15 years, and we have obviously not gotten to the point of Travis and Jane, but it's so realistic of like, how do you go from, in one monologue, like, I literally quit my job so I could be around you because that's how much I love you, to I tied you to an oven and laid in bed, and I was surprised by myself because I felt nothing. That's a huge jump, but time is what does that. And that's why I think this movie being slow and this movie being long, time is like part of its tool to like not trick you, but like make that final point, drive home.
I think that's what makes it more sad because you're like, yeah, I can see,
It's
this happens, unfortunately.
yeah.
And like you said, yeah, time is so important to this movie because it lets you sit and stew in those characters, even though you still don't know them by the end. You
Mm-hmm.
don't fully know
Mm-hmm.
them. You're not really supposed to. And even like Jane, she doesn't show up until almost an hour into this movie.
Mm-hmm.
We keep hearing about Jane.
Mm-hmm.
We know who plays Jane, if you know who that actress is, but you're wondering, is Jane gonna show up? Where is she? Um, yeah, it's hard. It's hard to talk about it too, because I feel like when most people talk about Paris, Texas, they're just like Robbie Mueller, Harry Dean, and you talk about
Sure,
the
sure.
beauty of it, and then when you sit down, you're like, this is rough, but
It's
beautiful.
it's so rough. And uh now you need to help me with the pronunciation. Is it Nastasia?
I've heard both. I think Natasha is the American, but I think it's Nastasia
Mm-hmm.
Kinski.
When Nastasia Kinski shows up, pink sweater dress, like, amazing, right? And she's
Mhm.
so nice and she's so personable, and you know that she's working in this like peep show type thing. And so is this somewhere that she necessarily wants to be? But her presence is just so like warm and nice. Like, I don't know, like I don't literally fall in love with her, but I fall in love with her like every time I watch this movie, because I'm just like, oh my God, Jane, like you're so cool. And maybe it's because I'm a man, like I can't justify Travis, and I think Travis is like a terrible person. But I'm like, Jane, you're okay. I don't know. Maybe you guys feel differently as ladies, but
Felicia, I feel I'm very much out of my zone here. So yeah.
Well, first before that, fun fact on the sweater. I don't know if you had this fact, but they just thrifted that sweater. They were shopping
yes.
through. They wanted to find something that was like eye catching, and like the costume designer just thrifted it. And how they managed to find that, I'll never know. Um, but for Jane, I feel for that woman because it must have been really difficult to do that. Also, if you listen to the story, and it took me probably a couple watches to catch this, she was 15 when they met. So that's another
Mm,
layer of just like how messed up, and their
hmm.
relationship should have never happened.
Yep.
So you feel for her. I think she did the right thing. She knew that he would have a better life. So I have to admire that, the strength that she had to do that. Um, it's hard to think about if she decides that now she wants to be the parent. I guess that's a whole other thing in terms of rights. I try not to think. I was like, are they legally his parents? Like,
I
did
know, I
they
was
Right.
thinking
legally
that
adopt him?
too. But like leave him in the hotel room, is that child abuse? Like we kidnap him
It's,
technically, but again, I'm just gonna
I
Yeah.
I'm
know,
gonna
I
that
know.
I don't want
Yeah.
that to ruin. That's not what but I couldn't help but
It's hard
wondering
not
that.
to.
And then when he gives the hotel room and of course Jane goes to see her son, I'm like, did she want this? Like, I guess you're just like, oh, here's your kid and he's in the room, and I think she knows Travis is leaving, so it's like, well, if I don't, then the kid will be abandoned.
I think that she does want to, because
She
she
does, but
says that she wants to see him.
there's a difference between wanting and can, right?
Yeah. Yeah. She thinks that Hunter hates her.
Yeah.
And I love what she says. I didn't want to use him to fill up the empty parts in myself, which, as a parent, I think I mentioned this on like an episode just recently. When you have like a hard day or when you're feeling down, it's so tempting to be like, hey kid, come here and let me scoop you up and give you a bunch of kisses, and like you kind of, and I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that. So don't send me an email mad about parenting things, but like that can become an unhealthy cycle. And I think we all know parents who don't want to let their kids go and are afraid to let their kids kind of grow up and grow past to them because of what that kid has like meant for them. And so that line, I'm just like,
Mm.
oh, and again, I'm not trying to justify people abandoning their kids. I want to be super clear. Like, this is not a good story. This is not a happy story. This is not a fairy tale. I think that this is almost like biblical to me. Like, this is getting down to like the very nature of what people are. It presents the story and then it's over, and we don't have to take it beyond. We don't. This movie could have taken place in 13th century Italy. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm.
none of the elements really have anything to do with modern day Texas. And having this German dude come to America and make this movie, people will marvel at that and they'll wonder, oh, it's amazing. Wim Wenders comes and makes this neo western and all. I'm like, no. It wouldn't matter. Kurosawa could have made this story in Japan. Because it's just like human elements. It's a human story. Um, but Michelle, when Jane shows up, how did you feel? Like, were you averted by her? Were you like, oh, she's so nice?
Finally.
That's how you felt.
That's it. That's honest reactions. Finally.
Yeah.
But I was very taken with her when
Yeah.
she was on screen. Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to do a Jane in the pink dress Halloween costume one year if I
You?
could pull that off. Yeah.
With the
Like if I was
bobblehead.
going to like a film themed Halloween
Mhm.
party,
Mhm.
yeah, I would like cut out the glass window like I did when I was the Truman Show.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to get a phone. Get a phone.
Yeah, I put a phone
Mhm.
on the other side so that people could pick up and talk to me. If
Oh,
they
I
don't pick
like.
up, I won't say anything.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to go as Travis one year, but then like the red hat stuff, and I was like,
Sure.
Yeah.
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 he's ruined red hats for us Travis
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
people. He who shall not be named.
Absolutely. Yes. So we already mentioned, but Robbie Mueller, Wim Wenders, they're photographing the heck out of Texas and California. Everything is lit just so interestingly. There's a lot of great information about how they lit it. You know, they're doing things somewhat naturally or a little unconventionally, using headlights in some scenes to light things. But I just loved, and I know that this is a very silly, like poetic way of thinking about a very natural or a very practical thing, such as lighting, but like it's like highlighters, right? Like we think of it like neon, but I thought of it like highlighters, and they're highlighting like the soul of America and like everything that it means to like be in pain and like kind of like down and out in the American West. I love it so much.
I'm curious, like what's the history behind the director and the writer and the inspiration for this movie? Do you have that info?
Yeah. Felicia, do you? I mean,
I, in terms of like Sam Shepard and vendors, I don't fully know how that came about. That union. I'm more familiar with like Robbie Mueller, the cinematographer, and his union with vendors. They've been working together for a long time, and this is both of their first venture into America. I feel like there's probably info on how they got in touch with Sam Shepard, who
mhm,
I assume a lot of listeners probably know as the actor Sam Shepard.
yep.
But yeah, vendors and Mueller had a long-standing union. They did a bunch of stuff after this too, but I think it's interesting, like you said, this could have been made anywhere. But it's also interesting to have outsiders film a very
Mhm,
American movie,
mhm,
and Sam Shepard being an American writing an American story. And I think the
mhm.
blending of having the outsider looking in and the insider writing stories about people he probably knows, it's why it works so well. But I don't know if you have more info on how Sam Shepard came into the mix.
Not really. I saw a brief interview with Wim Wenders where he's talking about like having a dream, or like it was his dream of working with Sam Shepard. And I mean, incredibly talented actor, playwright, writer, Sam Shepard. He co-wrote what maybe my favorite Bob Dylan song, which is my
Oh,
shower song, which I think I've talked about before.
shower song.
Yeah, so there's this song called Brownsville Girl. And if you listen to it, I would encourage everybody, listen to Brownsville Girl. It's kind of a mini Paris, Texas. So if you love this movie, listen to the song. And they also talk about the Gregory Peck film, The Gunfighter, in it.
Oh
That's
my
a
god.
major point of the song. So listen to Brownsville
Yes.
Girl. It's so good. But I press play on that and then I jump in the shower, and that's about the length of my shower unless I take a double Brownsville Girl shower. The song's like 9 minutes long, so
Okay.
yeah, that's why I call it my shower song.
A double
You guys don't have
Brownsville
shower songs?
shower is funny.
It's so funny. A double brown.
A double Brownsville Girl shower, yeah.
Well,
No, we
You guys
don't.
don't have shower songs?
You know what? I
mm,
listen to my friends' audio messages in the shower because I usually have so many, and then I'll listen to podcasts. What?
Oh,
Or
mm.
wow.
audiobooks. Yeah.
I feel like it's too loud. Like I wouldn't be able to focus. It needs to be
I put
music.
it against the wall, and then that amplifies it.
Okay.
Mm.
All right. All
hmm
right.
I balance it on shampoo bottles and the speaker.
No, no, no. That's too risky. That's crazy.
I got it.
Okay. All right. Felicia, what about you? What's the shower tune?
I don't listen. I just like to stew in my own thoughts. It's
Oh.
when I deal my thoughts about
That
depression or life.
Mm-hmm.
What am I going to make for dinner? Um,
Got it. Oh.
Sometimes
So
I
it's a
get out of the
silent
shower, I'm
shower.
angry. Yeah, sometimes I'm happy. It's my
Wow.
time to
yeah.
think. It's my time to be alone.
Got it. Got it.
I do get
Yeah.
the best ideas in the shower though. I
Yes.
really
I don't get
yeah.
any because I'm Brownsville girl in it. Like I'm telling you. I'm
No.
I'm gonna wait now to hear from both of you. I expect to hear from both of
Mm.
you within the next 24 hours after you've listened to this song.
I already forgot about it. I'm glad you brought it up again. I'm gonna write it down.
I'm gonna listen to it. Maybe when I take a shower after this, I'll
There you go.
make an exception to my rule. I'll listen to
There
all
you go.
Brownsville Girl in my shower.
I want to mention Hunter Carson as Hunter, the kid. I think this is great kid acting here. I love this kid.
He's so
Yes.
good. He's so good.
Yeah. When Travis goes to pick him up from school the first time, and Hunter just goes off in another car, and Travis just kind of like withers, but like also is doing a brave. It's absolutely devastating. Anyway, but when he and Travis like take off together, I am like, oh my god, stop! Like, please, like you need to talk to his parents. You need to tell them what the plan. You need to, and there's just none of that. It's like,
When he
oh
makes Hunter call them,
yes,
Oh my god.
it's crazy.
that infuriated me.
Mm-hmm.
I was like,
Yep.
wow. Mm-mm. Because,
Yep.
in the beginning, I'm like, where are we going with Travis? What are we doing?
Mm-hmm.
And then
Mm-hmm.
we're building on the relationship. Okay, okay. And then this happens. And even Travis is very kind. He's like, you sure you want to go with me? You can go with me.
Mm-hmm.
But then when he makes him make the call, and then he was like, just hang up on her. I was
Yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah. Just hang over. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
and she's just
Oh yeah.
crying on the other end. Oh, man.
Yeah.
And then that was it.
When they go to do the bank scene, how Michelle? Now for you, is your heart racing?
My heart is racing, and I'm like really mad at this point because, again, I'm still stuck in like thinking of 2024.
Sure.
And I don't have a kid, but like I know the walkie talkies are a thing, but to
Mm-hmm.
just like have your kid and you are separated for such a long period of time,
It's
I am
crazy.
so stressed out. And then
It's
he
so
finally
stressful.
sees her and called her, and Travis is asleep. I'm just like, what? I'm like, I've reached like anger mode now
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
in my viewing.
Oh, same. It doesn't go away though. Like
The-
when I see Hunter sleeping there, I'm like, okay, so anyone could have taken this boy.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's like so many times when he goes into the club, he's just in the car by
Oh yeah.
himself. Or when he goes to the bar and he's like, and Hunter's at that point also annoyed with Travis. He's like, why do you drink that stuff? It stinks. And he goes, I'm going to the car. And Travis orders another beer. I'm like, okay, aren't you driving?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I told myself though? I was like, it's not that type of movie where Hunter gets
Mm-hmm.
stolen
It's not.
in
No.
from a different
No.
person or gets kidnapped from a different person, right? It's not, and so
Yeah.
that like calmed
Mm-hmm.
me down because I was like, okay, all that doesn't matter here. That
Nope.
stress because Travis isn't stressed about that.
Right.
Yeah.
If this was a movie with right and wrong and rules and I'm gonna even say like a point or like a resolution, those things there would be stakes like that. But this is just the telling. One of the ways that I thought about, because I watched this a few times, I thought about Hunter a lot. The movie switches perspectives. Obviously, we start with Travis's perspective, he's not talking, and then we switch to Walter's perspective, which, by the way, when he gets the phone call, I just need to point out that they are working on a massive poster of Yentl, the Barbra Streisand film.
Masterpiece.
Genuine, incredible movie. Michelle, have you seen Yentl?
I have not seen Yentl,
Oh
and
my
I think
God.
that's a
So
crime.
good.
I think it's a crime.
We have to cover Yentl somehow.
Yeah.
I
Do
went
it.
into it kind of like, I'm not gonna really like this, and I can't. It's not like the whole movie is like, oh, it's so bad it's good. It's not that kind of a thing. Like it's great.
Yeah.
There are some parts of it that are like, what is happening? But I loved Yentl, so I just need to give a quick shout out to Yentl.
Always shout out Yentl.
But so we're switching perspectives, and I thought about Hunter because we get his perspective a few times when he's left alone. And I was like, what if this is Hunter just telling this story as an adult with all of the details that he knew and his experience? Like, yeah, just imagine like someone telling you this story. You would be like, oh my God, that's crazy. Oh my God. But I think we all have stories like this. It might not be ones that we personally went through, but it's stories on the periphery or stories from our family. And I think if a movie sets out to tell a story, no matter where it ends up, if it does it well, then that's all. It's not moralizing. It's not justifying. It's just this is what it is. And but yeah, love Hunter Carson as Hunter. He's the son of L.M. Kit Carson, who adapted this for the screen, and also Karen Black, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Karen
The
Black's
actress
great.
Karen Black. Yeah. And I didn't know this. She apparently held him in her arms when she hosted Saturday Night Live. He was like a baby, and during her opening monologue, he held her. I mean,
wow.
she held him during her opening monologue.
Wow.
So even knowing what happens and having seen this movie, that bank scene stresses me out because it's such a bad plan. Like you guys mentioned, anyone could have just kidnapped Hunter. It's insane to think about how many hundreds of people just drove past a child sleeping on a little cement plant. And no one bothered to be like, hey, there's a kid sleeping out here. And I was like, oh, whatever. And then the car chase, and we're just going based on what Hunter thinks is the car. Oh my God. Michelle, were you just like kicking and screaming?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm sure we can all
right
imagine my face. I'm like,
I'm losing it too. And honestly, rewatching it, I was like, wait, I don't remember. Do they follow the right car?
yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And then Travis just like blocks the car in when he goes in. Like he parks directly behind the red car when he goes into the club for the first time. It's nutso. So we already mentioned the two conversations between the two of them, and they're both amazing. But in the second one, when Harry Dean Stanton is turned around, it tells the story. They face each other, and the moment where their faces like line up, I'm curious, just not what you think it means, but like, what are you feeling? Like, Michelle, when you see that, what do you? I don't know.
Well, I took a picture of it.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, this is good. But that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it struck me, but at this point, I'm like, I'm like,
Right.
yeah. But I took that picture, so I was like, oh wow, this is good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Again, guys, it's like when you watch it for the first time, you guys have seen this so many times, right? And I know you've said like each time you absorb more and more. So as the days went on, I'm like, oh my God, I feel like I'm losing this movie. Like, and the theme of, like we already went over, of the parenting and that stuff stuck with me more. I was like, it's beautiful, but then I'm like stressed out about the parent stuff.
Right.
Yeah. But yes, you guys talk about that scene though.
I mean, I will say if you do ever rewatch it, I would give it a few years That way you have space from it, but then you
Yeah.
will be able to focus on other things
Yeah.
on the rewatch. It's hard not to be struck by Robbie Miller's photography, which I know I keep mentioning him, but he's literally one of my favorite human beings in film ever. So huge fan. But for that scene, when their faces line up, I think it's that. I think it's important that they're separated by this two-way mirror. So there is that separation, but the lining up to me is like they're linked forever. And they're linked through having a child together. They will always have a separation. They don't need to be together, but they are forever linked. It's the same way if you have a child with someone you're no longer with, you are linked for better or worse to that person.
Right.
So they will always be a part of one another, but they need that separation. And they can only see each other through this. I don't think they should ever be in each other's presence, face to face. This is as close as they can ever get, where they can understand who they are, who they were, and who they maybe will be in the future. At least that's how I viewed it.
Wow, amazing! I didn't. It's funny because before I asked the question, I was going to say I don't really know what it means. Like I don't know what I think it means. I don't think it means that they're similar. I don't think it means that they're the same. Like they're basically embodying like the same silhouette and the same person in that moment. Obviously, they're facing different directions, but I don't think that the movie is trying to like unite a family together. This isn't like Homeward Bound, like this isn't anything like that. So I love that idea of they need to be separated. And like, I think that while as a dude, like I'm just going to say, like as a dude, I'll never justify tying a woman to the oven with a belt. But at the same time, she leaves him to burn to death. Everyone thought this dude was dead, and that is an important thing to remember. Like Walter and his wife and no one thinks that Travis is still like out there, right? And so when he shows up and he's talking to her, and she responds not with like, "Oh my God, like you're here to kill me." There's a moment. I don't think it's like romantic love, like Eros love. I think that there's a moment of just like, we've done terrible things to each other. We've been terrible to each other. And here we are being honest and talking. And that's Travis's arc throughout the movies. He goes from literally not talking, not remembering, not knowing who he is, to being able to finally give the final statement. And then Jane gets her final statement. She's able to explain herself too. And, her monologue is just as devastating and painful. Oh, it's pretty amazing. So this movie was made for $1.8 million. Goes on to make 2.6 at the box office. Not a huge smash, but does well. 94% on Rotten Tomatoes, 4.4 on Letterboxd, 81 on Metacritic. This is in the Criterion Collection. This is not in the National Film Registry, which is crazy. Ebert gave this 4 out of 4 stars, and I would recommend people go read his review. It's great. And they filmed this from the end of September to about mid-December. Very quickly, I just want to mention Harry Dean Stanton's 1984. He is in this film. He is in Red Dawn, and he's in Repo Man. He's also in a film called UFO Aurea, starring Cindy Williams from Laverne and Shirley.
Love her.
So I haven't seen that, but it's like it's supposedly a comedy, and so that is an insane year. Like probably at the time people didn't know, but Harry Dean doing those 4, like that's a crazy year.
Wow.
We talk about Jim Carrey and his run, but
Yeah.
HDS is doing all this in 1 year. So I asked some friends on Twitter what they thought. Ben Sower says, "This is one of the greatest films about America made by a foreign director. Perfect film. Can't believe you're covering this. Dream come true." And I would say, I agree. This is a dream come true. Paul Muad'Dib at Trig Raptor, he, a few months ago, had put out 4 movies that he wished that we would cover. Those 4 movies were Jaws, Gremlins, Little Women, the Greta Gerwig version, and this movie.
Dune wasn't on there?
No.
Well, I guess because you talked about Dune with him, right? The new ones?
Dune 2, but yeah.
Wow.
And so in 2 months, we've done 2 of the 4 movies. And hey, folks, next month, we're doing all patron-nominated Christmas films. Gremlins, who knows?
I've never seen Gremlins, and that's one
It's
on
good.
my list. Yeah. Yeah,
It's good.
yeah.
Anyway, he says, I loved like 95% of this, but the ending really put me off. Felt like it was a bad situation for the child. Maybe that's the point. I'm interested in revisiting it. Also really interesting to hear your thoughts, especially on that ending. And I think we all agree it's bad. It ain't good.
Yeah.
I don't think it's bittersweet. It's bitter.
It's
We're
not
not
ideal.
supposed to. Yeah. Jacob Vasquez at Lots of Scotch
Oh, man, I love that name.
says a perfect movie with a perfect performance by Harry Dean Stanton. Palme d'Or winner, by the way, at Cannes the year that this came out. Top prize. Philip Marinello at Philip Marinello says, masterpiece. Blind bought it on a Barnes & Noble sale in college due to the striking cover art and was blown away.
Ooh.
Felicia at Cinemaroni.
Hey, we know her.
So do I.
She says, Robbie Mueller, yesterday, today, tomorrow, and forever. Very
Well
quickly,
said.
Felicia, if you could recommend one other Robbie Mueller film for fans of this movie, what would you recommend?
I was going to say the same year he also did Repo Man with Harry Dean. That's also
There
one
you
of my
go.
favorites. Highly, highly recommend.
That is punk cinema necessity, that film. Emilio Estevez singing Black Flag. It's pretty great.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cinescape at Cinescaping. Ooh.
That's cute.
Says, happened to watch for the first time last week. First time I've seen a film where I thought I knew what it was all about through osmosis, but realized halfway through that I knew nothing. Almost had a better experience than going in blind.
Nice.
So there's some people that we do know. Now we'll go to a segment of the show where we hear from people that we don't know. It's called Half Star, 3-Star, 5-Star. I don't want to read the half-star review. I just don't.
I don't even want to hear it. But...
Do you want me to read it? I'll read it.
No, I'll read it.
Okay.
Well, will you read it in a Texas accent?
No.
Okay, I will. All right.
I probably could. No.
Travis.
Twang. You gotta have like a twang.
I can't do a Texas accent, so it's going to be a bad Southern accent. All right. Half-star review says, boring, pointless, just wasted 2 hours of my life on a film that justifies being an abusive and manipulative man. I don't understand the hype. This half-star is for Jane's pink dress.
Seth, that sounded like a King of the Hill character that I need to insert. They're
Texas, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm not laughing about the justifying of an abusive, manipulative man. Not at all. Like Felicia mentioned, they were 15 when they met. This dude is like, it's all bad.
I don't think this movie's justifying that.
No, I don't think so.
No.
If anything, this is like a warning. This movie is a warning. Be honest with your partner. Be honest with your kids. Be honest with yourself. Like, enough. 3-star review says, had high hopes for this. Some generally beautiful scenes, and every single shot is a capsule in time. Of the opinion that there's no definitive right or wrong the movie pushes in, it's just very matter of fact. Coincidentally, don't have much judgment because it really didn't make me feel anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then the 5-star review, I read through many, and I had to pick the one that I just felt the most kinship with.
So you chose yours?
No. I don't have a review for this.
Oh, not yet.
Yeah. 5-star review says, I have no cogent thoughts, only tears and longing. A perfect film. All right, so we rate a film as a schmovie, a movie, or a film. We rate it 1 through 5 stars and give our final recommendations. Felicia, since you are the guest, if you would like to take it away.
I mean, this is a grade A film, and it's 10 stars.
I agree. All right, Michelle, I guessed for you that you were going to rate this 3-star film.
Ooh, close. This is a 4-star film.
Oh my God.
Yeah, this is, like I said, this is a very beautiful film. I am recommending this, but to certain people, and just to like have the mindset of like set them up for what they're about to go watch.
Got it.
I think I'm glad I watched this, but it's not something I'm going to revisit anytime soon. But I
Sure.
recognize the beauty of it.
Sure. I'm shocked right now. I feel like this was the
This
biggest
can't
shock.
be anything lower.
I mean,
I agree.
Well, according to, and 5
You know,
stars, like for me, is like what I love, right?
sure.
But this was really good.
Yeah. I agree that it can't be lower, but I also agree it totally can be. This is not for every, like
Right, but
no
I think,
movie is for everyone.
sure, but from a critical stance, come on.
Sure.
Right? Like a critical eye, no. You're fooling yourself. You little Texan half star. Okay. For you, I wrote down 5-star film.
Yes, the easiest.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Again, this movie changed my life. Like this movie rewired my brain and made me realize what movies can do. This is everything that I love in a movie. Yes, this movie cost 1.8 million, and obviously there's a lot of very, very talented handiwork that went into it. But when you learn about some of the behind the scenes stuff and how they accomplished some of the looks, it's pretty simple, tactile stuff. It's just creative people being creative. Harry Dean Stanton is not like a leading man type looking This is a dude, but this is what acting can be. Like, you don't need all the money, you don't need everything. You just need to mean it. You need to feel it, and this is the height. This. If I had to pick 3 films, this is in my top 3 films. If I had to pick a number 1 film, it would be very crushing to not put this one there. But this is one of the most important movies I think that has ever been made, and I think that it's absolute required viewing if you're interested in films and what they can do. And yeah, I wouldn't be here. I can tell you right now, I wouldn't be doing this show right now if it wasn't for Paris, Texas. So
Thanks, Paris, Texas. I got that presentation because of you.
That's right. Right. Well, Felicia, where can people find you online? You do a show.
I do.
Yeah.
Called Seeing Faces in Movies, and on all the streaming platforms in terms of podcasting. I have a website. I'm on Instagram under the same name. Twitter, I guess, for now. Who knows what's going on? Or X. What's going on in that place. But yeah, you can see me on the internet crying about movies, usually.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for joining us. As soon as I knew I was going to do this, I was like, there's only one person that I can have on to talk about this movie. Yeah, I was like, we got to do it. And so I'm glad that we were able to make it happen.
Thank you.
And I'm glad that you're feeling better.
You were here. So glad. I think
Yeah,
Seth would have been real disappointed if it was just me this
week.
week.
No. It's nice to have another perspective of not just gushing.
I agree. 100%, man. It's the basis of this show, really, All right. Well, thanks, Felicia. You can wander back out into the desert now.
See ya. So long.
Well, hey, that was great.
We love Felicia.
I love her.
Yeah.
I don't know why that was hard to say.
I know. We both love her. It's okay to say.
Why can't men just come out and say the things that they should say?
I don't know.
I'm a regular Travis.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you very much, Felicia, for joining us. And be sure to check out her podcast, Seeing Faces in Movies. It's great, and they're covering like the best movies that have ever been made. And hey, my wife was just on an episode with her.
Really?
Yeah, talking about The Piano Teacher.
Oh,
Great flick.
cool.
So hey, before we talk about what we're going to talk about next week,
I know the
just wanna
end of
remind-
Seth-vember. I can't believe it.
I know.
Are you
I know.
sad?
It came and went so quickly.
So quickly.
Yeah,
It feels.
That's
This
okay.
actually feels like the shortest month. Why is that?
because I'm the shortest guy.
You're not the shortest guy.
No, I'm average height.
Right, but why did
Yeah.
this month feel so short? I can't believe you're actually thinking about this. You could just say, because it was, Michelle. Let's move on.
Maybe because Heavyweights and Magic Spot were so easy, like they're such easy watches, breezy, you know?
Easy, breezy, beautiful. Seth-vember.
Hey, if you're easy, breezy, and beautiful, we'd love it if you give us a review wherever you're listening. Also, send us an email, moviefriendspodcast@gmail.com. We would really love to hear from you. Especially if you're watching Paris, Texas for the first time. Please, God. You can also support the show, patreon.com/moviefriendspodcast. $5 a month gets you access to all of our additional episodes, series, a whole bunch of stuff. Patron-only Discord, and you get to vote on monthly episodes and monthly themes, like our episode next week. This was a little different. Normally, we have people submit movies, but with this being Seth-vember, I submitted a list and then have everybody vote. So next week, this is an all-time classic. Top 3 highest rated film on Letterboxd of all time.
Ooh.
I know. Wild. The movie that started me on my movie journey proper, beyond kids' films. We're going to be talking about Sidney Lumet's 1957 film, 12 Angry Men, 97 minutes long, currently streaming on Prime, Criterion, and Tubi.
Very nice. I watched this in school, but I haven't watched it since high school. So,
I'm so intrigued whenever people say they watched films in high school. That's so crazy.
why?
Because, like, are you supposed to be doing biology and chemistry and math?
Yeah, but there's also English. Like
Yeah, but
we
that's
read To
books.
Kill a Mockingbird and then we watched
And then you
it.
watch. Yeah. Great flick.
Yeah, that's really good. But yeah, 12 Angry Men.
Yeah, very excited to revisit it. Do you
I
remember
can't-
liking it, or?
I don't know. I don't
Okay.
remember much. No. In all seriousness, I remember thinking like, "Oh, this was really good." There's a reason why we were shown this movie.
Yeah. Mhm.
And then we had a discussion about it, but I'm excited to hear how this started you on your film proper journey, as you put it.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited. There was some weirdo stuff. Like, I feel like
Uh-huh.
I feel like this month none of the weirdo Seth movies really made it, you know? But that's
Okay.
okay.
Well, next year we could have Seth-vember 2.0, where the weird stuff
it's
only
just-
gets in. Yeah. Like Seth After Dark.
We do need to have I've like fantasized about, you know, you and I in a year, 2 years, 5 years, whenever the time comes, and we're like, you know what, we're gonna wrap up Movie Friends.
Mhm.
And we just do like a month of like the most bizarre, strange, ridiculous movies ever made, and just like tank the show.
I'd love to go out that way.
Yeah.
Or rise that way, because maybe
Yeah,
that's where we're supposed to
do.
go.
We do those ones, and then it suddenly
It
becomes
takes off. It
Yeah,
takes
yeah.
off. I think that's probably where the fun stuff is.
Yeah, yeah. But you know what? That's okay. Like I said, 12 Angry Men, one of the greatest movies ever. So I'm very thrilled to finally be talking about it.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thanks, Michelle.
Thank you, Seth. Thank you, Felicia.
Thank you, Felicia. Thank you, Wim Wenders. All right. Till next week, we're talking about 12 Angry Men. Thank you very much for listening. And have a good one.
Movie Friends is produced by Seth Vargas and Michelle Rubenstein. Music by Anthony Pecora. If you like the show, please subscribe and give us a rating. It really helps us find new friends. Thanks!